disempowered it by aiding and abetting the crisis of everyday life that the majority of folk in DC face every day. And that's what we need to address and tie to the struggle for statehood. Thank you.
How would you each propose to increase support for admission of New Columbia into the, or the New Columbia Admission Act on Capitol Hill? What would you do?
What I would do is, well, first we need to make it a national issue as opposed to a local issue. Get some more national coverage, have more districts, more citizens in this country calling their congressmen to put pressure on their congressmen to help us out with statehood, or at least the voting right. I proposed, surrounding the Capitol if we have to, holding hands and making sure that lawmakers will not be able to go in and out until they give us a voting right. I don't know how long we're gonna wait until this happens, but just go in with the, I know that we're trying to be activists, but it just doesn't work. We have to get some new ideas and to push this issue over the edge. That's what I feel.
Peter Ross, the New Columbia the New Columbia Admission Act. What would you do to enhance that?
Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is get a clear understanding of where our president sits on this matter. What I would do is, it's called whitehouse.gov. The first thing that I would do prior to the elections, we would get together and work with all of the DC statehood organizations to try to get a petition on whitehouse.gov to get 100,000 signatures, because that's what the White House says. And the way we would do this would be to mobilize prior to the elections, where all of the DC statehood organizations, get all of our ANC commissioners, and get a concentrated effort to, first of all, find out where our president stands on this. This is going to get us publicity. The next thing that we have to do is enlist, which is what's not being done. People, our high school students here in Washington, D.C. There's been very little outreach at the schools here. There's been very little outreach when I go to ANC meetings among ANC people. We have a lot of people that are active, but there has not been an outreach. And we also need to unify all of the various DC statehood organizations to work in conjunction with each other.
Well, first of all, I was part of a delegation with several people here to convince Eleanor Holmes Norton to introduce this bill, because the focus has been on tokenism. So-called voting rights is not statehood. Statehood includes full voting rights and permanent budgetary and legislative autonomy. We don't get that with a constitutional amendment for voting rights. We only get that with statehood. Now, what would I do locally? Once I become a senator, I would work with the team to organize town meetings across DC. We have to start here. 100 people going out for a demonstration is not going to get us statehood. We need thousands. We need to energize and organize the people of DC. Two, I would do a national organization promoting citizens for statehood in every state, and international as well. Perhaps I'll get back to that.
We've been joined by our incumbent. You're in time to answer the question. What would you do? And this is Paul Strauss. What would you do to support the New Columbia Admission Act on Capitol Hill?
Well, I would continue the efforts that I've made so far, which is directly meeting with senators, directly meeting with staff, and then taking our cause around the country, enlisting the support of people in the entertainment industry, all walks of life, focusing on the campaign to get leading thought leaders in the film industry to do public service announcements for our bill. So there's a lot that I have been doing, and I hope to be able to continue to do that.
start this fifth question with first answer, please. Pete Ross, how have you, or will you use your position as U.S. Senator to increase support outside of the metropolitan area for statehood for the people of D.C.?
As I go around the city, people, I speak to a lot of people, and they say to me, well, when you get elected, we will give you the names of people that we know in the state capitals that we know, and we will get, we'll set up a conversations with, or interviews with you for them. I said, no, what I will do is, and I got a lot of people who are from other places in the States, you will do that. This is where we need participation. We need to get, we have people from Virginia, we have people from Florida, we have people from California, all who support statehood. We're going to locate these people and find out who knows other people and try to form delegations to go to the various states. We did this one time to New Hampshire, and this should be done with all 50 United States. There are enough people here in Washington, D.C. from every state in the Union who know people who support D.C. statehood, and we need to get it. We need to mobilize these people to get a group of 50 different teams to go out to the 50 different states and lobby in the state capitals.
Jerry, you're standing in front of the clock. Next, let's hear from David Schwartzman.
Yes, well, just to continue my previous statement, I think what's needed is to have self-organized groups in every state. We need to promote that. It's not simply enough to do lobbying, which is necessary, but we need to promote a bottom-up movement around the country. I will work for that. Secondly, internationally, we need to put the U.S. government on trial in the court of world public opinion for the denial of our rights. The only capital in the world where the citizens in that capital do not have the same rights as everyone else in the country. You can look that up. This is a violation of human rights. It's a violation of civil rights. We have to make this transnational as well. Thank you.
John Daniel.
Yeah, most of this country supports D.C. statehood. I think we incorporated in our fight locally. What I proposed in my website, literaryjohn.com, it's to pull back in more supporters in the nation. What I see an opportunity in this seat is that we will keep it part-time, not paid by the federal government, and with 2-term limits. That will be the model for the nation. And I think that more people right now that are sick and tired of the status quo in Congress would kind of feel that they would increase their support to in our local fight over here.
Paul Strauss.
I think that David touched on a very important point, which is that we have to continue to talk to people in the 50 states, but we need to apply international pressure as well. The OAS found that the denial of D.C. statehood is a violation of America's obligations under the Rio Pact, and one of the most significant accomplishments we achieved was getting the OSCE, the Organization for Strategic Cooperation in Europe, to find that our lack of statehood is a violation of America's obligations under its membership in those organizations. In fact, when the European observers came in and did their report, they mentioned D.C.'s lack of representation and democracy as one of their criticisms of America's policy here. Reaching out to interns from around the world is a great way to get our message out, and I can't believe my opponent says he'll discriminate against interns from certain countries and not hire them. That's the wrong approach. We need to get everybody involved in this case.
There's a good chance that the Senate will be having hearings on statehood this year. Democratic majority of the Senate. Harry Reid, the majority leader, is a friend of the District of Columbia statehood. What needs to be done to make sure that this hearing is a success, starting with David Schwartzman?
Well, I hope to attend this hearing, but I want to point out the only national party that supports statehood in its platform is my party, the Green Party of the United States. in 2004, the support for statehood was taken out of the Democratic Party, National Party. I know that the local party supports it. So we need to mobilize people to be at that hearing and outside, and again, connect the dots. Connect the dots. We live in a city, as Andy Shalal has emphasized in his campaign, of enormous disparities. One of the highest income and wealth inequality in the United States. Very high child poverty rate. The toleration of these human rights violations has disempowered our movement. We have to address them.
Paul Strauss.
Well, one, I think we need to politely, and recognizing his status as a sponsor of the bill and an ally, make sure that Senator Carper keeps his commitment to hold the hearing in the first place. Sometimes when you're dealing with an ally and a supporter, it's more complicated than when you're dealing with an outright opponent. We've had a great relationship with Senator Carper. He's been a champion of ours, but he does need to keep his commitment and hold the hearing. Then we need to work with that office to make sure that the witness list is diverse and that it's not just statehood supporters testifying at that hearing. We need to make outreach to Senator Coburn's staff and Republicans on the Hill. And then we need to organize the constituency and the community to make sure that we have enough people attending that hearing so that it has the positive impact that it should be. That room should be packed to the rafters. We're going to make sure that that happens.
Peter Ross.
But they all fighting for state.
Senator Strauss talks about organizing the constituency. When was the last time he organized the constituency, the people that live here in Washington, D.C.? The people who live here in Washington, D.C., we are the ones that have to fight for our statehood. And this is not being done by foreign interns that come here for 6 months and go home and say, wasn't this a nice experience? We start with getting our people, we enroll our people from here in Washington, D.C., to get our constituency to do the things that Paul Strauss is proposing.
Now, we have a question. I'd like to take a privilege to talk about the question of shadow senator. And I'm sure Paul Strauss is familiar with this, but the shadow model, one of our candidates said he wouldn't call it shadow, is based on the Tennessee statehood model, where the state of Tennessee wanted statehood, and so they appointed shadow senators and representatives to lobby to help Tennessee